Tonight, I want to share a story with you. At the end of the story, I want to ask you a few questions. And then at the end of those questions, I want to give you a little homework. Don't worry, nothing daunting, nothing exhausting, but homework nonetheless. So story, questions, homework. Here's the scenario. You're walking by, you see someone you know, friend, colleague, coworker, someone you went to school with. Hey, how are you? Oh, how are you? We've been conditioned over time that hi, how are you is synonymous with hello, goodbye, and just trying to start a conversation. We've been conditioned to respond to such a powerful inquisition with, I'm fine, how are you? I'm okay, how are you? It's become conversational formality and has lost its power, its ability. The purpose of this speech is to help each one of you to regain a sense of empowerment, to realize that you can change lives and save lives by asking twice. Once, because they've been conditioned to think you're not genuinely concerned, and twice, to let them know you truly are. Here's the story. Young girl, mid-20s, did everything she needed to do, worked hard, went to school, fulfilled everyone else's expectations, and now here she is looking for love. She's strong-willed, independent, but has come to the realization that something feels empty without a companion. And so she goes and opens herself up, metaphorically and quite literally, embracing the possibility of someone being with her, loving her. She finds Mr. Right, and things are going well until they aren't. And she unfortunately does what is far too common and happens far too often. She thinks to herself, if we have a child, it will save our relationship. And the only thing worse than having a kid to save a relationship is staying in a relationship simply because you have a kid. But she does. She does. It goes as well as it can, and then it's over. He's gone, and she's left with a little girl to raise all by herself. So she focuses on that. She focuses on being a mother, being attentive, caring for this new life, knowing that every time she sees the twinkle in her little girl's eyes, it reminds her of what initially brought her here, a union, one that has ended, but now this one can be strengthened. For a year and a half, she goes without intimacy, without companionship. She's a mom, as good of one as she knows to be, given the examples she's had in her life. But now is the time. Now is the time for her to see the possibilities and to be seen. And so she strengthens her resolve and tries dating once again. She meets a guy. This guy feels different, looks different, seems different than the last one. Things are going well. And then, tragically, they aren't going at all. And he leaves her behind with a son. So now here she is, mother of two, 3-year-old daughter, 15-month-old son, just 32 years old at this point. Now, it was challenging enough for her friends, her family, and her co-workers. It was so challenging for her to reach out to them and ask if they were okay, if they wanted to get together and hang out. But now, single mother of two, invitations are few and far between, both for her and from her, and she's just there. Now, she couldn't afford to live in the city close to family, so she lives 25 miles away. And when she was down the street, everybody had excuses not to be there and for her not to be where they were. So 25 miles makes it a lot easier for people to say, I don't have the time, I don't have the energy. But she makes a few trips into town, her daughter, her son. She tries to engage, talks to the guy at the gas station, talks to the girl at the restaurant, talks to the clerk at the grocery store. Every one of them could see she's stressed, exhausted, alone. And as they scoot her things from one point to the other and bag them, all the while saying, hi, how are you? When she tries to say a sliver of how she really feels, she's rushed by the customers behind her. I guess it doesn't really matter how she is. She starts making calls here and there, but those calls are answered less and less. So she makes those calls less and less until finally she doesn't really use her phone for anything except, what she has to. She's alone in that house with those little kids. And she finds herself looking for connection in any way. And sadly, she finds that through drugs. Now, science will tell you that the opposite of addiction is not sobriety. The opposite of addiction is connection, because people look for addiction. They look for connection in those chemicals, in those feelings. And so mommy can't go, so she's got to find a new way to escape. And the drugs are like a cruise ship that she gets to go on while inside the house. And she has a regular routine. See, the young one, he doesn't walk too well, and he's not as cautious as his 3-year-old sister. So sadly, she's got to put him in a car seat and put that car seat close by so that if something happens, he tips it over, or he spits up, she can get to him. But mommy's got to go somewhere. And sadly, the only person who seems to answer her calls is her drug dealer. And he does what he thinks is on the right. He puts a little something extra in mommy's dose. And that little something extra leaves her laying there on the bathroom floor, dead, overdosed, drugs mixed with fentanyl, which, by the way, is a new epidemic. Not so new, but the new one. So there she is. Mommy's gone. Gone. And the 15-month-old is strapped in the car seat. He can see his mom, and to the best of his knowledge, he thinks mommy's just sleeping. The little girl starts tugging at her mother, pushing her, trying to wake her up. She's confused, but she realizes that right now, until mommy wakes up, she's got to take care of her little brother. But she can't figure out how to get him out of the child restraints of the car seat, and rightfully so, they are child-proof by nature. So she starts freaking out and moving frantically throughout the house. She's got to give him something to drink and something to eat, and he's right there 6 feet away from his mom in the bathroom. She knows how to turn the faucet. She remembers how that works. She turns the faucet and she scoops up what little water she can, and she tries to feed it to her little brother. Little 15-month-old brother tries to put water to keep him going. It's going everywhere. Very little of it actually fulfilling his thirst. That's not enough. She knows she eats. He's got to eat. She starts rumbling through the house, frantically trying to find whatever she can reach above the countertops. She finds some eggs, a few pieces of bread. Mom was going to make breakfast, but that's not happening. So she starts cracking the eggs and trying to scoop them into her brother's mouth. And that works until it doesn't. And 2 days later, he's gone. It's another 2 days, 4.5 days now, since anyone's even checked in on the mom. The little girl's running around frantically. Finally, they break through the door, and there she is, sitting as close as she can to her mother, to her brother. Now, like I said, I would tell you a story and I would ask you a few questions. If you were listening attentively, I'm curious, what color is this woman? Are her children biracial? What race were the fathers of the children? What city did this take place in? How did this woman vote? What are her religious beliefs? Oh, that's right. I didn't bother mentioning any of those things because in this context, none of those things matter. But they mattered enough to the people that she tried reaching out to. They mattered enough that if and when she did something they didn't approve or thought a way that they didn't like, it was enough to stop asking, "How are you?" Now, we've become very, very divided. And much like you, here I am sharing this message with you. And so I have a quick nursery rhyme. When I first read this, I felt helpless too. But I did something about it by sharing this warning with you. Ask twice. Reach out, not through messaging, not through text, not through digital communication, but pick up a phone and call 5 people. Regardless of how much they are like you, agree with you, call 5 people and ask them, "How are you?" And then ask them again, because the first time they won't believe you. That is how you save lives. That is how you save the world. And when you're done with the conversation with those 5 people, tell them whatever you need to as to why you're calling, because apparently people worry. Why are you calling? It's so weird for you to call. Why? When you're done with that conversation, ask those 5 people to call 5 people. Ask, "How are you?" And be prepared and create the space that it takes for them to acknowledge that you genuinely want to know, and give them the time it takes to figure out how best to truly answer. Because something that simple could save a 15-month-old boy and the mom responsible for his care. Thank you.